operating, I guess, when you were learning this. In other words, that system had already developed.
Right.
Okay.
So I can speak faster.
Then you can type. Yeah. I hear you. There's no way that would be able to keep up. I took shorthand.
Keys.
It's kind of like shorthand, I would think. I took shorthand when I was in high school. It's one of those things that still stays in my head. I could write right now in short. I've never used it. It stays in your head.
I know.
It's like learning a bike, you know?
All right, you may be seated. Good afternoon. We're back on the record. You may be seated, Counselor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Dr. Edwards, going back up to the email that starts out so many arguments over the weekend, I could tell you about from Andrea to Hemy. How was that important, or how did he receive that?
He received it as there continued to be problems in the household with Rusty and parenting of the children. That's how he perceived it.
Now, I'm going to put up what is actually marked as State's Exhibit 28 because it was used earlier. And that is an email from Hemy Neuman to Melanie White on September 28th. And then the chart with the content. Can you read that email?
Yes, on September 28th, Mr. Neuman writes to Melanie White an email, and it reads, we left the flight with a kiss, knowing that I was traveling, and I told her that we shouldn't really communicate over the next 1 to 2 weeks. She wholeheartedly agreed. BTW, she did tell me that one of the things that kills her is that I am the only one she can talk to about us and Rusty, that everyone else will be so disappointed, ... So she tells people snippets controlling the whole story. She also says that it won't change the outcome, that she is staying no matter what. So the advice is pointless, ... And then he goes on to say, anyway, ... On Sunday, she sent me text, and then we went back and forth a few times regarding how the kids are great, etc. I did give her advice that she must concentrate on them, ... Today, as much as it killed me, I did not contact her.
Just move that up.
She called, and we spent 15 to 20 minutes talking about the kids and the presents we got them. She paid, but we chose them together. I wrote back with a L. She wrote back ditto.
Now, these emails regarding the children, how is that important? How does that refer back to what you've already talked about?
They're consistent with the level of communication that they continue to have about the children. And at this point, he believes that the children are his. And if I take a look at the date, may I take a look at the date? I believe by this point he thinks they're also in danger. Yes, by this point he also thinks that they're in danger and that he has to do something to protect them.
And, Your Honor, that was demonstrative only, Defense Exhibit 32.
All right. Any objection to 32?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 32. Without objection.
I'm going to put up what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit 23, an email on August 8th, subject line, raising good kids can be easy. And then Defendant's Exhibit 24, dated August 16th, subject line, balance. And then a chart that I will label for demonstrative purposes only, Defense Exhibit 33. Can you read that first email from August 8th?
It's from Mr. Neuman to Andrea Sneiderman. Raising good kids can be easy. I don't have the answer for making your life easy, but I do believe that following a few simple principles will make it easy for you to have good kids. Below are Hemy's X principles for raising good kids. There are in no particular order. Number 1, if it's a big deal, do not make it a big deal. 2, treat your kids with respect. 3, exemplify and discuss, but do not preach. 4, hug them every day. 5, remember that they are people that will make mistakes. 6, never forget that they are as much a part of you as you are a part of them. 7, always draw boundaries. 8, within the boundaries, give them absolute freedom. 9, always remember from the day they are born tall. They want is to love you. Andrea, comma, that's it for now. If this is making any sense, I guess I would then begin expanding on each topic in more detail. Good night, mon ami, and thanks for the inspiration. Believe it or not, the ski story helped. Thanks, Hemy Neuman.
Okay. And how is this important?
It's important in a couple of ways. Mr. Neuman indicated to me that the stuff that he outlined in this email is actually part of a book that he had begun writing about being a good parent. And it is, again, consistent with the level of communication that they're having about Andrea Sneiderman's kids and his role in trying to help her ensure that the kids have good parenting.
Okay. Now, looking at that next email on August 16th, can you read that?
It's an email from Hemy to Andrea Sneiderman. Leave at 3:30, ... Pick Sophia up, ... Go buy the stuff with her, ... Let her settle in at home and then start working on it with her, 5-ish, ... Let Rusty pick up Ian around 5:30, ... During 3:30 and 5:45, think of nothing else but Sophia, ... Nothing else matters at that time. Do something relaxing between 8 and 9. Then, 10 to 10:30, go to bed, ... Read a few pages of a book that is totally pointless but relaxing, ... Sleep like the angel you are.
And is that basically following along on the same themes?
It is. It's following the same theme, the same pattern, and feeding into the delusional system that he already has.
Now, changing topics, if a witness from the FBI has previously testified that there were only 9 recurring birthday entries in Hemy's iPad, that those were Mom and Ronnie, Andrea's birthday, Riley, his wife's birthday, Sophia's birthday, his sister Monique's birthday, Tom and Lee's birthday, Ian's birthday, Addie's birthday, and Poppy's birthday. So only those 9. How is that important?
It indicates to me that that's a level of importance that he has placed to Ian and Sophia as a place in his life, and that it would be consistent with him believing at that point that they are his kids.
Dr. Flores, testimony has been presented in this case that Hemy secretly purchased a gun from a man named Jen DeSalva, that he later returned to Mr. Salva and told him to hide the fact from the police that he had purchased that gun, and that is the gun that was used to shoot Rusty Sneiderman. How do those facts relate to your diagnosis in this case?
Well, they're consistent with what he told me, and the way that they relate is that he was not concerned. He told me he was not concerned about any type of negative repercussions, any type of legal repercussions. The mission that he had been sent on by this voice was to protect the children, and that was the mission he was on, and that's what he had to accomplish. And that his preference was that he didn't want Andrea Sneiderman to find out, but that if she did, she did.
And earlier you talked about rescue delusions. Mm-hmm. Is that what we're seeing here?
It is. My opinion is that when he heard the voice, and the voice presented as a rescue delusion, it was during a manic episode where he's feeling grandiosity, he's feeling like he can do everything and anything, and the rescue delusion would be consistent with that he has sort of this special mission that he's been put on to rescue the children.
And does the DSM specifically discuss or define rescue delusions?
It does. It does talk about rescue delusions, and there's also research in addition. I don't remember if DSM specifically says it about rescue delusions and happening during manic episodes. I believe that's under bipolar.
The evidence in this case that the jury has heard is that Hemy rented a van, that he rented a van, that he purchased a costume, that he attempted to hide his identity, that following the shooting he hid or threw away the costume, that he disposed of the gun. Do any of those facts or the testimony in this case alter or change your diagnosis or your opinion in this case?
No, they do not. And the reason for that is because when somebody is delusional, they can be very methodical. They can plan things out. In this case, his mission was to protect the children. He didn't want Andrea Sneiderman to find out if he could help it, and that was the purpose for doing this. But he felt the right thing, that he thought, he said to me, not only was he doing the right thing, that he was doing the only thing he could do.
So was the purpose in disposing of items to hide from the police or to hide from Andrea?
It was to hide from Andrea.
If the evidence in this case is that he went into GE early that morning at 5:30 and then went out a back door, and that he actually left his phone in another location rather than having it with him, are those things that make you question whether or not his goal here was to avoid Andrea knowing about it or the police knowing about it?
Everything was every way that he tried to ensure that Andrea would not find out. So that is consistent with that. He did not want Andrea Sneiderman to find out because the plan was for them to be a family.
And when he was initially arrested, he also lied to the police. Is that inconsistent with your opinion?
It is not. It goes along with everything that I just said, that under no circumstances could Andrea Sneiderman find out.
When you met with Mr. Neuman, did you discuss the time frame between the shooting and when he was arrested on January 4th?
Yes, we did.
And did he discuss any suicide attempts?
Yes, he made multiple suicide attempts.
Okay. Can you tell me about those?
He made a suicide attempt soon after he shot Rusty Sneiderman. Let me take a look at my notes because there were a number of them. He said that the demon had actually shown up soon after he shot Rusty Sneiderman, and that it had the same theme that it always does, that he's worthless, come join me. And so he actually had attempted a suicide then by, I believe he was going to be, I don't want to get it wrong. He was going to throw himself in front of a truck on the highway. He did not do it, but that is what his plan had been.
And then was there another attempt after that?
There was. The following attempt was in December of 2010. He was on a trip to Florida with his daughter, and the demon presented itself, and he said that he once again thought of suicide, and they were in a beach, and he swam and swam and swam with the intention of trying to drown himself, and swam a little bit of a distance, and then decided against continuing the suicide attempt because he didn't want his daughter to be the one to basically have to identify him dead.
Okay. Was there an attempt after that?
There was another attempt, I believe, in January, right around the time of his arrest, in which he overdosed on some pain medication. There was another attempt in which he attempted to poison himself with the gases from dry ice. Those are the two that I think I can recall.
Okay. There has been testimony that Mr. Neuman was in the hospital in December. I'm going to put up what is marked as Defendant's Exhibit 25. This is marked as Defendant's Exhibit 25, an email from December 14th. Your Honor, may I approach the...
Yes, ma'am. You may. You said D25. You said D25.
D25, yes.
Doctor, can you actually read the list of who that email was sent to at the top of the actual emails?
So you want me to say the names?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Neuman sent an email to Carmen Harding from GE Energy, Donna Wilson, GE Energy, Anastasia Harris, GE Energy, Christopher Harshbarger, GE Energy, Nawal Asid, GE Energy, David Chow, GE Energy, Jason Royle, R-U-Y-L-E, GE Energy, David Valevic, GE Energy, Justin Eggert, GE Energy, Donna Fairbanks, GE Energy Services, Stephen Hartman, GE Energy, Jameson Janowitz, GE Energy, Anthony Maiello, GE Energy, Jeff Mazzario, GE Energy Services, Ryan Pastrana, GE Energy, Keith Rhodes, GE Energy, Paul Rogers, GE Energy, Guillermo Willie, GE Energy, Ann Abahazi, GE Energy, Daniel Boozer, GE Energy, Brian Chishko, GE Energy, Michelle Kopening, GE Energy, Anil Deshmukh, GE Energy, Michael Farnham, GE Energy, Jerry Morton, GE Energy, Richard Quintal, GE Energy, Andrew Sneiderman, GE Energy, Kyle Wilkerson, GE Energy, Robert Belongia, GE Energy, Karen Bliss, GE Energy, Milton Buckaloo, GE Energy, Edna Farrow, GE Energy, Guillermo Godinez, GE Energy, Federico Gutierrez, GE Energy, Al Harris, GE Energy, Sophia John, GE Energy, Alice Roberts, GE Energy, Nacho Rojas, GE Energy, Evalise Serrano, GE Energy, Kevin Bagwell, GE Energy, Claudia Cosoreanu, I don't know how to say it, GE Energy Services, Rusty Fish, GE Energy, Timothy Gentry, GE Energy Services, Dan Groninger, GE Energy Services, Melissa Hatlick, GE Energy, Doug Hoffman, GE Energy Services, Chad Nothole, GE Energy, Arthur Leifson, GE Energy Services, Dilip Mangsuli, GE Energy, Lourdes Mila, GE Energy, Anthony Outland, GE Energy, Joseph Rita, GE Energy, Eric Gebhardt, GE Energy, GE Officer, Adnan Bugal, GE Energy Services.
Now, can you read the email starting from the earlier email and then to the later email?
Okay. So on December 12th at 6:04, Mr. Neuman wrote, "The last couple of days have not been so good. They fed me some Jell-O Friday morning and my whole body tightened up. Today in the afternoon it has gotten better. Finally got rid of some extra tubing. Don't ask. They hope tomorrow my body starts some function and they begin some tests. We'll probably be here another 2 days at least. Thanks for all the well wishes, flowers, plants, visitors, etc. Really heartwarming."
And then the second email?
Second email is on December the 14th. He writes, "Some good news today. Yesterday was a much better day and I finally was able to eat. Yay. Today they have me on more solid foods, though still liquids. Doctor has not been by today, just the residents, and they have me off shots. Yay. My guess is I'll be released for home rest today or tomorrow at the latest. Again, thank you all for the heartfelt wishes. I look forward to being back with all of you after the January holiday. Thanks, Hemy."
Can you talk about how those emails are important to his mental state at the time this was sent out in December, and also why the list of names of who it was sent to is important?
It is consistent with the pattern in the type of openness that he's exhibiting about himself, the level of inappropriateness that he's engaging in, and how much.
I object, Your Honor, to the term inappropriateness. That's a characterization by the witness.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain that objection. I heard the question. Sustain.
The without characterizing it with a specific term, can you explain?
He's sharing a lot of very personal information in that email to a long list of people from work.
Now, along those same lines, we have the jury has heard testimony of people that he contacted after not being in contact with them for a long time and shared details of his sex life, details of his relationship with Andrea. Is that something that you often see in someone starting into a manic episode?
It is one of the symptoms that can be present. Doesn't always have to be. In this case, it was. The lack of a filter and overly sharing information that's not necessarily in your best interest to share.
Okay. What about contacting someone that you haven't been in contact with for a long time and then sharing personal things?
That actually is one of the things that happens. I think it's even on the DSM-4. In terms of something that can happen during a manic episode, individuals will can become more social, and they can do things like contact people that they have not spoken with in a long time and be chatty Cathy.
Now, the evidence that is that the detective contacted Mr. Neuman in Florida.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I'm sorry. The evidence that the jury has heard is that Mr. Neuman was contacted by the detective while he was in Florida, and then after that came back to Atlanta, and that's when he ended up speaking with the police. Is that consistent with what he told you?
That is exactly what he said, yes.
And does that affect your opinion as to whether his focus was on avoiding Andrea knowing what had happened versus the police?
His focus was not on avoiding the police. His focus was always avoiding Andrea finding out.
Now, when you interviewed Mr. Neuman, did he have a clear memory of the shooting?
He did.
And does that tell you anything about the issue of malingering?
It does. It's inconsistent with malingering, with trying to fake that you have some deficits or psychological problems that you do not. One of the things that I would expect to see if he had been malingering is that he may also choose to malinger having some memory problems specifically about the event and what transpired, and I did not see that. He did not have any memory gaps. He was pretty clear about what actually had transpired that day.
You testified that you've interviewed him a couple of times recently. Did you go further with him this time, as opposed to in 2011, about his reasoning in taking steps and various what-ifs?
I did. I posed some hypotheticals to him in trying to just continue to sort of explore well, what if this had happened? And so we engaged in some, part of the assessment was engaging in a discussion, in an exchange, and what I gave him some what if scenarios and seeing what he responded.
Okay. And what were those what-ifs?
I said, well, the first time, so back in 2011, I had actually asked him, what if the police had been present? What if the police was there? Would you have stopped? And he said, still would have done it because it was my mission. And I asked him that again this time, and he again said that even if the police had been there, that he still would have done it. That the only way he wouldn't have done it is if the police officer was standing between him and Mr. Rusty Sneiderman, because he didn't want anybody else to get hurt. I then said to him, well, I said, another scenario that I engaged him in was, what if Andrea said, don't do it? What if she was there and she said, don't do it? And he said, I probably still would have done it. The mission is all that mattered. So then I said to him, well, what if Andrea had said, don't do it, I won't be with you? And he responded, protecting the kids was more important than protecting the relationship. Remember that I didn't know whether Andrea was going to be with me. What about the children? What's going to happen with them? If you're not going to let me protect them, how are you going to protect them? Was his response.
Now, how is it that, given the history you've already discussed with Mr. Neuman and the previous psychotic and depressive episodes that he had in his lifetime, how is it that he was never diagnosed?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Stein, rephrase that question.
Were there, well, let me start with, is it uncommon for someone to not be diagnosed as bipolar by his age?
No, it is not uncommon. It can happen even after his age with older individuals that have gone undiagnosed.
And in his case, were there specific reasons or events why he would be less likely to be diagnosed than others?
Yes, there is. His debilitating, more problematic symptoms for him up until that point had actually been when he got depressed. The manic episodes actually were something that helped him function better up until that summer and fall. So, and as he told me, he's somebody that keeps things bottled up inside. I think I read an email also where he tells his children that. So he wasn't going to bring to somebody's attention necessarily that he was depressed, and the manic episodes were something that were helpful to him. They helped him succeed.
And what about the delusions here? Is that something he could have sought help for or known to seek help for?
He had no idea that he was delusional. That is what he believed. He believed that the children were his, and he believed the children were in danger and that he had to protect them. That was it. Once he was sent on that mission, that is what he had to do. And so at that whole point, at that whole time, he had no idea that he was thinking illogically or irrationally. It was the reality to him. That was his reality. That is why it's called loss of touch with reality.
Did you inquire about whether there was any kind of family history of bipolar disease?
There is a family history of bipolar disorder.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll rephrase it.
Sustaining, I mean,
I can rephrase it. Did he tell you about a family history of bipolar disease?
Objection, Your Honor, to lack of foundation.
sustaining, they have foundation.
Is whether there is a family history of bipolar something you look for or something that would indicate whether an individual had bipolar disease?
Yes, whether it's bipolar disorder or any other mental illness, we look for a family history of it to see if there's additional indication for the person being more vulnerable, more at risk to develop a particular mental illness.
And did he tell you whether there was a family history here?
Your Honor, I'm going to object again to hearsay. How the defendant knows that, that's my objection of a lack of foundation. If the witness didn't say that she reviewed documents, then I don't have an objection to that.
Sustaining, you mean drink of water?
Uh-oh.
Not you.
Miss Benuto gave me.
Somebody was coughing out there. I was trying to figure it out. All right, sustaining.
I'll try to suppress mine.
No problem. If you can. Next question, sustaining.
Did he tell you? Did he have personal knowledge of whether there was someone in the family with mental illness?
Objection,
Did he
Your
have
Honor.
personal knowledge?
Objection, Your Honor. This witness is not in a position to know what the defendant's
Or did he
personal
tell-
knowledge was.
Sustaining. Rephrase that question.
Did he tell you whether he had personal knowledge about whether there was a family member with bipolar disease in his family?
Yes, he did. There was an aunt.
I'm going to object, Your Honor, to any hearsay.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain that objection. Let's move on. Please.
Yes, Your Honor. There has been testimony that people at GE did not notice anything unusual about his behavior that week, that one person described it as same old Hemy. Is that something that surprises you or that would make you question your diagnosis?
It does not surprise me at all. And the reason for that is because he already, his tendency on that Mayo Clinic scale is already to function sort of on the higher end of energy. So a little shift in energy is not necessarily going to be noticeable by others. And the main thing here is that the issue that at this point defines him being manic is the fact that he has become psychotic. So even without all this other energy and other symptoms that he's got going on, by definition, the fact that he was psychotic during his manic episode indicated that there was a presence of mania. And because of the type of delusion that he had, it was not a bizarre delusion. It was a more non-bizarre delusion. I don't see how they would have seen anything different in him.
Did he tell you that there were ever any GE employees present when he had a hallucination?
Never. He never had any hallucination with GE employees present.
And is there any symptom of delusions that would be visible to a coworker or a friend?
Not in this case, no.
Does the question did he seem delusional for a coworker? Is that even a question that makes sense in this context?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Dr. Flores, did you make a recording or a videotape of your interviews with Mr. Neuman?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I never do, and the reason for that is because there's a whole body of research out there that basically has found that when you put in a third party, and a third party in this case would be a video camera, that it can really impact the quality of the interview and the assessment that you get. And so for that reason, I personally choose not to do that with any of my interviews.
Now, you've talked about the demon appearing and urging him to commit suicide, which he did not do, and then the angel appearing and urging him, or telling him that the children were his, and urging him to protect the children. Is it important, or does it make you question your diagnosis that he did what the angel told him to do, but did not do what the demon told him to do?
The answer is no, and in fact, he did attempt to do what the demon told him to do a couple of times. He made the attempt where he was going to bump into the barricade, and he also made the attempt where he was trying to drown himself. But it's always about both the doing what what either hallucination says is always about the children. So the reason why he didn't kill himself either one of those times when he heard the demon is because of his children. He didn't want them to hurt. He didn't want his daughter to find him drowning in the beach. When he heard the boys directing him to protect Ian and Sophia, it was also about the children. So both of them, at the core, is protecting the children.
You testified earlier that you met with Hemy for about 12 hours in 2011, and then again for about 6.5 hours in 2016. Can you talk about the differences in him from one to the other? Was he still delusional in 2011?
He was. When I evaluated him in 2011, there's a very clear indication to me. May I ask something? I need direction in terms of whether I can say something or not.
Stick with what he told you.
Okay. What he told me directly was when I saw him back in 2011, is that the angel had reappeared while he was in detention, and that the angel had said to him that Rusty Sneiderman was waiting for him and that he needed to contact her. So this was back in 2011. And so when I saw him, this was a couple of weeks after this episode that he reported to me with the angel, and when I saw him, he was reporting to me a number of symptoms that I thought were consistent with mania that he was experiencing while in detention. He was reporting again hypersexuality, a need to masturbate several times a day, and he said regarding the masturbation that he felt guilty because during that same period of time he had also really gotten into reading the Torah, which is the Jewish religion book, and he had really gotten into reading it, and he thought he had kind of figured out what the Torah was saying, and so he was feeling guilty that he was masturbating because it was against what the Torah would want him to do. Basically, God would want him to do. He also talked about experiencing thoughts that he said were upsetting him because he could not let go of these thoughts, and these thoughts entailed somebody that he referred to as David Malachi. And so I asked him who David Malachi was, and he said that he was having this thought of getting plastic surgery, and it was difficult for me to follow his train of thought because it did not make sense to me. But his thought was that he could get plastic surgery and he could become David Malachi, that would be his new name, and he would have 3 homes in Florida. And one home would be where he would live with Andres Sneiderman and Ian and Sophia. And then another home is where he would, like, his face would change and he would become Hemy Neuman again, and he would be living with Relly and the twins and Addie. And then there would be like a third home where sometimes they would kind of, I believe it was, come together. It was very difficult to follow his train of thought because it did not make sense to me. And he said that he said to me, I wish that I could stop thinking about David Malachi, is the way that he described it. And so to me it appeared that he was experiencing still some delusional thoughts about Andres Sneiderman.
And that was after he had been arrested, after she knew he had been charged with murdering her husband, correct?
That is correct. That is after all of that.
And you said that the angel told him to contact Andre. Did he take any steps to do that?
He did. He wrote a letter to Andres Sneiderman, and then he ended up throwing it away. And he said that he chose not to tell Bob Rubin, who was his attorney at the time, because he said that Bob Rubin would think that he was crazy and that he would judge him.
And is that comment important in terms of the issue of malingering?
It is, because it's completely inconsistent with somebody that's trying to fake. If you're trying to fake yourself out of jail and into a better facility, it would be in your best interest to share that kind of information with your lawyer, because that's information that your lawyer can use. So the fact that he did not share information that could potentially have helped him in an insanity type of defense is not consistent with somebody that's trying to fake symptoms. It's contrary to that. He's actually hiding stuff that could potentially help him from his lawyer.
Now, when you met with him in 2016, is he delusional now?
I did not see any indication of delusions now at all. There was, I actually asked him about David Malachi, and he just, he had a hard time explaining why he had even thought. He didn't know why it was that he had engaged in those thoughts back in 2011. I asked him about reuniting with Andres Sneiderman, whether he was still having those thoughts, and he very clearly said that no, he was not. He's not in love with Andres Sneiderman. We engaged in a discussion about his feelings about Andres Sneiderman also, which are very different from what they were back in 2011.
And how does that impact your opinion as to the issue of malingering?
If he was in fact malingering mental illness, if he was in fact malingering that he'd had delusions, what I would expect is for him to still be holding on to those thoughts, to still be holding on to those delusions, to still say that yes, the children were his, that yes, the children were in danger, that yes, he was going to reunite with Andres Sneiderman, and that was not the case. The case is that he does not have those symptoms anymore. I believe it's because he's been treated for it.
Okay. So he's not still thinking about Andrea. Did he say anything about whether he's still thinking about the children?
He said that he when he thinks about the children, it's that he prays for the children every day, is what he said. And he expressed remorse about what he did and does not understand why it was that he did it.
Did he say whether he was on medication?
He is on medication. He is on 2 different types of medication, has been on that medication for at least the last 3 years.
And did you discuss with him his goals in treatment?
I did.
Sharon, to the relevance, goals, and treatment of the
Sustained. Next question.
between when you met with him in 2011 and when you met with him this year, did he have any new insights into his childhood history?
He did.
Yeah, I'm going to object to the relevance of the defendant's insights.
I hear you.
I object to the relevance of the defendant's insights.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
witness.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish. Approach lawyers, come on. All right, I'm going to sustain the objection. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is go ahead and let you have an early break today. It's all relative on whether it's early or not. But I'm going to let you go for today. Do not discuss the case. I'll allow anyone to discuss the case with you. Once I release you, do not remain upon the fifth floor. I don't want you to interact with anyone you should not interact with, anyone you should not see. If you do decide to have a meal here in downtown Decatur, do not sit next to anyone who may be discussing the case, or allow anyone to sit next to you who may be discussing the case. You have two options: either A, move away from him, or B, you can tell them to move away from you. Once I release you, do not remain upon the fifth floor. I don't want you to interact with anyone you should not interact with, anything you should not hear, or see anything you should not see. Do not read or look at any media coverage pertaining to this case. Do not go up on the internet and do any research about this case. Do not blog or write about this case while it's ongoing. Do not go to any location that may or may not have been made reference to. All the evidence must come to you in the form of sworn testimony from the witness stand and or any physical evidence that is introduced in the course of the trial. You're more than welcome to bring something to snack and or eat during the morning and afternoon sessions. Do not consume any alcoholic beverages during the lunch break, and I understand all of your adults, if you do decide to consume alcoholic beverages in the evening, do not overindulge to the extent that it impacts your ability to come in tomorrow morning with a clear mind. The Deputy Lewis will turn back over to your cell phones and communication devices. Just put them in the off position when you come back tomorrow. And when you leave for the day, this is your opportunity to return phone calls to anyone you need to return phone calls to, talk to anyone you need to talk to, visit anyone you want to tonight, and I'll be come back tomorrow. We're good. The lawyers and the parties cannot talk or interact with you. I don't ever want you to think they're being rude or discourteous. You can leave your notepads there in the jury room and sit them face down, and no one's going to look at your notes but you. And if you need more jury pads, we have plenty of jury pads. And you better get more jury, notepads, excuse me. If you need them, continue to wear your badges. We're going to reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. You can be early, but you can't be late. And we will follow a similar schedule. And other than that, any questions? Wonderful hearing that. Follow the instructions of the deputy. See you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock a.m. 9 o'clock a.m. tomorrow morning. 9 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday morning. Have a great evening. See you tomorrow at 9 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday. No one's been released. No one's been excused. See you tomorrow. And thank you for having such a positive attitude. Appreciate you. Always good to see you. See you tomorrow morning, though, at 9 o'clock a.m. Have a wonderful evening. Lawyers and parties, you may be seated. Approach this momentarily, lawyer.
You got him. I didn't know if you get him. Okay. I was going to give him to you, Samson. This is not an exit. Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know. I've been giving him to her.
All right, with the assistance of Deputy Garrett, Deputy Lewis, lawyers, recorders will be on recess until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you. All right.
You might, because I'm following what this is information. And it depends on how I keep it over 2 days. But,